Hey guys, welcome back, or if you're new here, hi, I'm Georgia. I wanted to do something a little bit different today, something a little bit more personal so you guys can get to know me. Most of you who are watching this channel are probably from my main channel, which is, as you probably know, a lot more serious. It's not about me. My main channel is about the stories that I'm telling about the victims of true crime, about historical stories. I don't really like to show too much of my own personality on that channel, and when I do tend to show my own personality, I get hate for it in the comments. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to create the second channel, mostly because I just want a place to talk about books and just nerd out. Also because I wanted somewhere on the internet I could be a bit more myself, you know? So I figured today I would do a Q&A just so you guys can get to know me a little bit more. Maybe it's a little bit self-indulgent, don't really care. I asked for questions on the community tab on this page, and you guys came through. I've got like 22 questions, so I figured I'm just going to answer all of them. Also, I'm very unsure about the jumper choice I've made for this video. Like, this is meant to be like that, but I don't feel like it translates very well on camera, so I've like rolled it down, and I still don't feel like it looks fantastic. But you know what? She's cozy, I don't really care. But let's jump into some of the questions. The first one is, would you ever do a trying to solve an Agatha Christie novel before the last chapter video? I think it'd be really interesting to see you do at least one since you already do true crime. That is such a good idea. I love that. I do think I've seen another YouTuber do it. I think it's obviously a thing on BookTube, but I'm sure the one I saw do it is Emmy, and I thought it was so clever, like the way she edited it and everything. It was such a fun watch. So yes, I would actually love to do something like that. I don't think I've ever actually read an Agatha Christie book. Maybe I have, but years and years ago. I certainly haven't read one recently. I have seen a couple of the movies though, like Death on the Nile I saw recently, and I'm sure there was another Agatha Christie movie that came out recently. But yeah, if you've got any like particular requests that you want to see, maybe I'll do that. Maybe in the new year, that could be really fun. Has there ever been a topic that you started to research and decided not to go further with it? Also, I love to cross stitch myself. What sort of patterns do you like doing? So, like I said, on my main channel, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do, I do true crime and history content. And yeah, a lot of the time I'll start researching a topic and I'll get halfway through and I'll be like, you know what, I'm just not feeling this, the script isn't flowing, something feels a little bit off, and a lot of the times I will stop halfway through, which I do really hate doing because it feels like work wasted. But if it's not something that I feel passionate about telling the story of, then that's going to come across in the video. A lot of times I'll start researching a case and then I'll come across something which makes me maybe think that the family don't want it to be talked about, and as soon as I come across anything that even like has the slightest hint of that, I will generally just scrap the script. It's not worth it. I do what I do on my main channel to try and spread the word of unsolved cases and unidentified victims, and so if there's something, if I feel like I'm not going to be helping by sharing the story, I will just immediately no, won't do it. I mean, in terms of history ones, sometimes I will just start researching a period of time in history and it just won't feel right. Like, the script isn't flowing and it takes longer to like get over that hump when you're writing a script than it is to just scrap it and start again. And a lot of the times I'll come back to it after like a year and I'll continue and finish it, but it's just gotta flow, you know? Also, cross stitch. I love cross stitch. I haven't done it properly in ages. I always feel like over the summer it's just not my priority. I like to sit down in the evenings in front of a movie and cross stitch, whereas in the summer I'm always like out doing things, socialising. I'm not really in the house that much. That's a lie, I am, but like I'm more up and about. Whereas in the winter I spend a lot of time just sat on the sofa watching movies, and that's when I really come into my own with my cross stitch. I get all my cross stitch patterns on Etsy and I just do pretty much whatever takes my fancy. I am notorious though for starting a cross stitch but like over cross stitching myself. Like, I'll start a really big project and I just can't bring myself to finish it, so I have literally like 4 or 5 half finished cross stitches sitting in my box right now. I have one that's like all the Harry Potter books, and then I got down to like Goblet of Fire and it's just big chunks of like the same colour, like so much, and I just get bored, so I've stopped doing that one. I've actually recently just downloaded a cross stitch pattern that's like a floral graphic kind of pattern, which I want to get done over this winter because I then want to frame it and hang it in our hallway because I can't find any like actual like prints I like to go in the hallway, so I figured I'd make something. Why not? Carly says, have you ever thought about writing your own book or putting together a book of cases you'd really like solved? I think about writing my own book all the time. I've got a plot in my head, like I know exactly what the plot of the book is going to be. It's going to be a YA sapphic fiction, loosely based on my own life, because you know, if you can't draw from your own experience, then what can you draw from? I just need to like start it. Like I've got the idea and I've got all the characters and it's like fully fledged in my head. I just can't bring myself to like sit down and write it. Maybe one day I will. I just need to like just do it. I just need to do it. I think my main problem with it is like during the week I'm working. I do a very much 9 to 5, well 10 to half 5, Monday to Friday kind of situation. And during that time I don't want to start writing this novel in my head because I feel like that's work time and writing a book is like fun time. But then on the weekends I don't really want to sit down in front of the computer and write because that's what I do for work. So I need to just find the time. I need to like make a slot of time, maybe each week, maybe like literally an hour or an afternoon each week to write this book. I do want to do it. I really want to do it. I love writing. That's my favourite part of my job. I love writing the scripts. I just find like once I'm in the flow of it, I find it really easy, really therapeutic. I just need to do it. I do. In terms of putting together a book of cases I'd really like solved, I've never really considered doing anything non-fiction. I don't know why. Maybe it does make more sense like what I do on my main channel, what my like main job is. But in my head it's always been like if I write a book, it's going to be YA fiction. That's always just made sense to me. But that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe I'd think about doing something like that. But the problem is, it feels like a lot to like publish that and put that out in the world. And there's a lot of pressure there to like get everything correct. But then again, there's a lot of pressure to get everything correct in my videos anyway. And I'm very, very like militant with my sources and making sure I like follow everything through to the main source. So I don't know why that makes me really nervous, but it's not a bad idea. If you were asked about your favourite books you've read so far but had to narrow it down to only 5, which 5 would you recommend? This is where I'm going to be editing this afternoon and I'm going to realise I forgot something really important and I'm going to hate myself. But off the top of my head, we have Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, of course. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller because I am just a basic bitch, but you know what? I love both those books. Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Stand by it. Freaking love that book. What other ones? I'm definitely going to miss something. Favourite books I've ever read. Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Leroy-Sainz. And oh, there's so much to choose from for the last one. I'm just looking at my bookshelf right now. Like, how can I choose? Maybe Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I really, really love that book. So much. Christina is Speaking My Language. We have, what are your top 3 Taylor Swift songs or albums? And what are your favourite songs on Midnight so far? Yes, I love this question. I'm actually going to a Taylor Swift club night tonight. I'm so excited. My top 3 Taylor Swift albums are 1989, my favourite album of all time. Nothing will ever, ever, ever top 1989. I love Folklore and I love Lover. So I think those 3. But Reputation is also really good. And Evermore. That's hard. That's really hard. Maybe Evermore instead of Folklore, actually. Folklore as like a cohesive album is better. But the songs I love on Evermore, I love more than I love any song on Folklore. But I don't love every song on Evermore, if that makes sense. So maybe 1989, Evermore, and Lover, I think. My top 3 Taylor Swift songs, now that one. Wonderland, I love Wonderland. Cornelia Street, and Champagne Problems, I think. With special shout out to Lover. I love Lover. And my favourite songs on Midnight so far, it's been released for about 2 weeks now, I think, maybe 3 weeks. And I have listened to nothing but Midnights. Actually, no, that's a lie. I sort of alternate between Midnights and Fletcher's new album, A Girl of My Dreams, because they're both fantastic. On Midnights, I think my favourite songs have to be Question, Mastermind, Maroon, Paris. I really love Paris. And Lavender Haze, I think. No, Bejeweled. I love Bejeweled. But also Karma. I love the whole album. What I do find with Midnights is the songs that are good are like really, really, really good. Like it has some really good songs, but it also has like maybe 3 songs that I will generally skip, which is kind of unheard of for me with a Taylor Swift album. But that doesn't make it a bad album at all. I love you, Taylor. I love you. I would never do anything to hurt your feelings. But like the good songs Midnights are really good, but there's a couple of skips, you know? If time travel was a thing, where would you go? Which era, year, civilization, whatever would you visit? The first thing that pops to mind right now is the Great Plague of London, so 1665, which maybe not wise to go back there and visit that time period. But like if I had some sort of immunity, if I knew I was going back there but I wouldn't catch the plague, then I would love to go. Just because it's a period of time that I've researched so much about. I find it so fascinating. The reason I'm interested so much in history is because I read a book by Mary Hooper called At the Sign of the Sugar Plum, which is about the plague, and that's like sparked my interest in history. It sparked my interest in like medical history as well, and I'd just be intrigued to see it for myself, like see the devastation they really did have on the city and see how it compares to like COVID times. I'd just be fascinated. And this person also asked, what was the most difficult case you ever made a video about? There's a few. Like, I rarely cry whilst I'm researching videos, so I very much try and like separate myself because I'm a very like emotional person. I'm such an empath. Like I really, really, really am affected by like other people's emotions. If other people are upset, if somebody's crying near me, I will also be crying. Like every time. I find a lot of time people just sound like twats when they're like, I'm an empath, but like I'm very affected by people's emotions around me. And that also includes when I'm like reading about people's emotions and watching interviews, which I think when you're doing the kind of content that I do on my main channel, you've got to have that quality. You've got to have that human thing that makes you feel personally for every single victim. But I have got to like remove myself to an extent because otherwise I would never stop crying. What's one that I found really hard? There's a Jane Doe case. What's her name? Little Jane Doe, she was called, St. Louis Jane Doe, and she was literally an unidentified child found in the basement of a house in St. Louis, and the state of her body was just horrendous, just awful. She was only aged between like 8 and 10, and I think about her almost every day. Like, almost every day. I can't remember at the time if I found it really hard. It's like one of the first videos I did on my channel, I think. But I think about her constantly, all the time. If you could solve any murder or mystery case that has ever happened, which would it be? Very basic answer here, but it would have to be Madeleine McCann, purely because so much time and effort and public attention and money is thrown at the Madeleine McCann case. If that case finally got solved, maybe it would sort of open the way for that time and attention and money to go to other cases that also need that. And there's so many other cases which are more solvable if they had the amount of attention that Madeleine's case had. And not that I think Madeleine's case is any less deserving of being solved. Like, I think she was a 3-year-old girl. Her case needs to be solved and we need to find out what happened to her. But I think if her case is solved, then maybe that could like set a precedent for so many others. Chelsea says, what was the book that got you into reading and why? Also, would you recommend that book for your subscribers to read? I don't have an answer to this because I have read my entire life. Like, when I was literally as young as like 5 years old, my family's nickname for me was Bookworm. I had a book in my hand constantly. There's a really funny photo of me at my uncle's wedding. I must have been like 9 years old. And I'm just sat in the corner reading a Harry Potter book at my uncle's wedding. If I can find the photo, I'll insert it, but I don't think I've got it on any computers. So it's really hard for me to answer that question because I've always been into reading. I think maybe the Harry Potter books were like the first books I read that like got me into like more adult. I know Harry Potter's not adult fiction, but like into that kind of genre instead of like kiddie books. I used to also really be into the Mary-Kate and Ashley books. If anybody else read the Mary-Kate and Ashley books, please let me know. What were they called? Like, what was the series called? Because I was obsessed. I had every single one. Oh my god, Googling that has just thrown me into like a time capsule. What the hell? These books, they're called the Two of a Kind books. I read every single one of these. I was obsessed with them all. Maybe I should do a video where I like reread my favourite books from my childhood, because that would just be such a throwback for me. These ones as well, like The Adventures of Mary Kate and Ashley. So Little Time. Oh my god, they were like their more grown up ones. So Little Time. Like I thought I was such a grown up when I read those. Oh my god, this is such a blast in the past. But in terms of books that like got me back into reading as an adult, I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit as a teenager. It was very much like the really hooking mystery thriller books. That's why I love Killing Lessons by Saul Black. That really got me back into it. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. After I read that one, I kind of haven't stopped. They're the two that spring to mind like as an adult, I think. Lighting in here today is just terrible. It is so dull outside. I've literally got 2 lights on me and it's not enough. So sorry if the lighting's really, really bad. But you know what, we're chilled here. It's cosy. It's a cosy winter's day. If you could meet any historical figure, who would you meet and why? I do not know why. The first person that popped into my head when I read that, like immediately, was Anne Lister, who I wouldn't say has ever really been at the top of my list, but you know, her face, her name just popped into my head. So it'd be Anne Lister, who was like considered to be the first like modern lesbian, and she wrote all these like coded love letters to her female partners that people are still decoding to this very day. And she was just such an interesting person. Like, she was a woman, she had money, she did whatever the hell she wanted, she slept with women. I would love to like have a conversation with her, but it'd be so interesting. Do I know if Kaylee Elise is okay? I miss her and hope she's doing okay. I have no idea. I've never spoken to Kaylee Elise, but I did love her content myself, so I've got a really itchy back. Just itching. Yeah, I've never spoken to Kaylee Elise, I don't know her personally, but her content is what inspired my content very much so. I loved what she did with Jane Doe cases, I loved the respect that she showed, and when I was first starting my channel, I like took a lot of cues from her and how she did things. So thank you to Kaylee Elise if she's watching. Have you heard of or attempted to solve the murder in the book Cain's Jawbone? No, well, I have heard of it. I haven't attempted to solve it, but I really want to. I was actually in Waterstones the other day and I saw it and I like debated picking it up and I didn't. Just because I don't think I have the time or like the mental capacity right now to try and do it. For anyone who doesn't know, Cain's Jawbone is basically a murder mystery book, but all the pages are jumbled up. So you as the like reader have to like piece the pages together, like you literally remove the pages and try and piece them together in the right order so you can solve the mystery. And I think there's a prize if you do solve the mystery, but I'm pretty sure that actually ends very soon. Like the book's like 50 years old or maybe even older, and the competition is running through to like the end of this year as to who can solve it, and only a handful of people have ever solved it. I would love to give it a go. Maybe I will do it one day and maybe I'll film it for this channel, but do I have the mental capacity right now? I don't think so. What is the best thriller or mystery book you've ever read, and what is any other genre of books that you enjoy? I actually did a video on this very, very recently. Wait, let me remember what it's called. Tier ranking all the mystery thriller books I've read, and it is Nat that I tell you the best mystery thriller books I've ever read. I think in the top I put, let me just squinting at the thumbnail here, trying to see what I put in the top row. I think there's Verity by Colleen Hoover, The Killing Lessons by Saul Black, After the Crash by Michelle Bussey, The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, 13, I can't remember the author's name, but it's the Eddie Flynn series, Did You See Melody by Sophie Hannah, and The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson, and I think there's another one in there, but I can't, oh no, Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that video, they're all the ones on the top row. Any of them you'll be good. Other genres I like reading, my tummy just rumbled, I'm so sorry if you heard that. Any other genre of books I love reading, at the moment I purely read mystery thrillers and sapphic fiction. If there's not either a gay person in it or a mystery in it, then I'm just simply not interested. If somebody can write a mystery thriller where the main protagonists are lesbians, well, let me know. Maybe I should write that. Maybe that's what I should write. Did you always know you were queer, or was it a realisation later in life? Love from a queer woman. I love these kind of questions. I love talking about queerness. Mainly because I didn't talk about it for so long. I bottled it up for a very, very long time. I think subconsciously I always knew I was queer, like looking back at my childhood, and I think this is relevant to many, many queer people. Looking back at my childhood, there are so many things where I'm like, how, not only did I not know, how did the people in my life not know? But the straights, they're very blind to queerness. I just don't want to see it. The first time that I realised really that I was gay was when I was like 12, 13 years oldish, and I went to see St. Trinian's at the cinema, and there's a scene where Gemma Arterton as Kelly like walks around the corner in her like St. Trinian's uniform, and I vividly remember in that moment being like, shit, I'm gay. And then I just repressed it for a very long time until I was about like 18, and then I left school. I had a real bad time in school. I would literally get called a lesbian every day, even though like I didn't even know that I was. Everyone else did apparently. I didn't. And then I left school, started to realise like, oh, maybe maybe they were right. They weren't very nice about it, but they might have been right. And then I was like bisexual for many years, and then only really in the last couple of years have I come to realise that I'm not bisexual. I sort of tend to say I'm a queer woman. I don't feel like I entirely fit under the umbrella of like lesbian, but I do fit under the umbrella of like queer. Like, I'm mostly like women, but would I say no to Harry Styles? No, I wouldn't. I definitely had the full realisation later in life, like in my mid-20s, but I've always been very behind my peers, I found, in terms of like emotional maturity. I think because I've always had such bad anxiety, such bad mental health issues throughout my entire life, it's always just taken me longer to like get to the points that my peers have got to. So I only feel like in my mid-20s I really fully emotionally matured. Like, I remember once, I'm going off on a tangent now, just skip it if you don't want to. I remember once I made a video about a 21-year-old girl, and she basically made some choices and then she went missing. She was murdered. And I was like, she was only 21, she was like such a baby, and I got so much hate in the comments. But in my head, like, I made that video when I was like 24, 25ish maybe. I'm 28 years old now, and people were like, she was 21, she was an adult, she was grown up. And I was like, me at 21, I was a baby, like full on baby, like still figuring out just normal life. So everything for me has just come a little bit later. And I wish I was one of those people who had like the conviction when I was a teenager to be like, this is who I am and everyone's gonna suck it. And I did not. I didn't even come out until I was 25, and that's only because I met my girlfriend and I didn't really have a choice. But for a long time, like, I'd have like things with girls. Like, I had many like situationships, but a big thing that stopped me from like actually taking it any further with them is because I was scared of like coming out and actually being like, this is who I am. Anyway, this whole thing, I'm fine with it all. It's fine. I've made my peace. Would I like to have children someday, or am I fulfilled with my cats and Holly? I would love to have children someday. I have never ever wanted to be pregnant for even a moment. Pregnancy, no offence if you are pregnant or want to get pregnant, it's a very personal thing. Pregnancy weirds me out. Just weirds me out. Like, the thought of like a child growing inside you, like living off your like blood, like some sort of like parasite thing. No. I've never had any inclination to be pregnant ever. But I do want children. I've always wanted to adopt. My nan and granddad fostered loads, and throughout my entire childhood I remember my nan and granddad always having foster kids in, and so ever since then I've always had it in my head like, I want to adopt, I want to like help, I want to like provide children who really need it with home and love, and that's what I want to do. Holly also never wants to be pregnant, and she is very on board with the whole adoption thing. It's not something we're going to pursue in the near future, maybe in like 5 years time, 6 years time, in my 30s I think. But yeah, I would like to adopt. I want 4. I want 4 children. I've got a very big family. I would love 4. Holly wants 2. She's not budging. But maybe we could get to 3. And I don't know. I'd like a big family, but we'll see. What happens. We're also toying with the idea of getting a 3rd cat, but we're not sure if 3 cats veers into territory of either like very stereotypical lesbian or crazy cat lady. But our kitten needs a kitten to play with. Like, our older cat doesn't want to play with the kitten, but all the kitten wants to do is play, and we think she could really benefit from having a kitten playmate. But I don't know. Tara asks, what does my self-care routine consist of? And I like this question because I haven't really ever thought of having a self-care routine before, but I think I do things that are like very much for me. I'm very much an introvert. I like to have my own space and my own time, and I just don't like being around people 24/7, which is why I have this office space. Like, this is my space in our house that I can like retreat to. I want to get like a cozy chair or something to go in that corner so I can like snuggle up in a nice chair and like read a book. But like reading is very much my self-care time, just time that I can like switch off and just like go into another world. The Sims, like at least twice a week, I like to just again switch off, just me and my computer, and just like sim out for like a couple of hours. Just like my self-care routine very much consists of like me removing myself from reality. I've just come to realise. Also food, I'm like a big foodie, but only when I cook the food. I love to like, cooking is very much my self-care time. It's time that I like to take out in the evenings, just me and my kitchen, which I'm getting a new kitchen fitted very soon and I'm so excited. But yeah, maybe not so much a routine, but they're just some things I like to do for myself and just for me. An update on my Spanish, do I still use it, tips to help me learn, etc. I have very much fallen off the Spanish wagon. I do this all the time. I'll like get really into it for like a year. I'll be like trying to do it as much as I can, but I really struggle with speaking it. I think I wouldn't say really proficient, but like I'm fairly proficient at like reading. I can generally read something, like get the gist of what's being said. But I struggle with speaking, mostly because I cannot roll my R's. My tongue just does not do that. Can't roll my R's. And then I feel like an idiot when I try and speak it because it just doesn't sound right because I can't roll my R's. Also, I really struggle with like the conjugating of verbs. But like reading, I can still do quite well. Speaking, I struggle. I say quite well with the reading. I don't think it's fantastic, but it's enough to like, I can get around. I could go to Spain and like understand things on signs and understand things in menus, and like it's enough for me to like get through. I wouldn't say it's great. I do want to like, I have been thinking about maybe going to like evening lessons. My local college does have evening classes in Spanish, which I'm tempted by, but then again I still can't get around like not being able to speak it thing. And they also do evening lessons for pottery as well, like pottery making. I think I want to do that one more, so maybe. Are there any videos you've made and then been asked to take down by friends, family, law enforcement related to a case? There's been one that springs to mind that I've been asked to take down. It was all very nice. I made this video years and years ago, and it was a very like well publicised case at the time. I'm not going to say what the case is, but then the woman's sister or aunt or someone messaged me and was basically like, her kids have now grown up and they've started school, and people are like going online and googling the mum's name and like seeing things, and she was like, we're going to everyone, just asking them to take down anything, like including like newspaper articles and stuff. She's like, it's just not right for the kids and for like them to go to school and people immediately go and Google their name and see all this. And so I removed that, and that's like, that really made me think, because it was a solved case, and it was at that point that I realised that me talking about solved cases wasn't helping anything, and that's when I decided to focus on the unsolved and unidentified. Solved cases get so many views, that's why so many true crime creators exclusively do solved cases. But unless there's some sort of moral or some like lesson that can be learned from sharing a solved case, now I will very much veer on the what's the saying? I'll steer away. Generally, that's no shade to anyone who does solved cases, like each your own. Solved cases have a huge place and people do love them. But for me, it was that moment that made me kind of think like, it's not helping anyone, is it? By me talking about that solved case. I want to help. I don't want to cause pain to families. I want to help. How many times did I say help in a sentence? And I'm sure there was another time as well, but I can't remember what the other time was. But that's the main one. Was it easy to come out to the people in your life? No. I found it really hard. And so much so that I didn't come out to a lot of people. I just let them figure it out. And ironically, not a single person in my life, in my family, had any sort of problem with it at all. And I knew they wouldn't. Like my entire like early 20s, late teenage years, I knew it'd be fine. I just couldn't bring myself to say the words, which is stupid now in hindsight because I missed out on like so much. But it's really hard, and it's something that people, like straight people, are never ever going to be able to understand. So it was really difficult, but everyone was fine. Like everyone, even the people I thought wouldn't be. Ooh, frog in my throat, wait a sec. Yeah, even the people I thought wouldn't be, you're actually fine, which is silly now. Alex says, how do you grow your eyebrows to be so lush and thick? Spoken from a sparse-browed lady. Genetics, I'm afraid. I've got nothing else for you, just genetics. And very hairy family in general, like very dark haired, and a lot of it. I just have a lot of it on my eyebrows. I was actually called caterpillar brows in school. I got taken the piss out for my brows so much. The people I was friends with in sixth form were just horrible people. Never nice to me, awful. But I would pluck them to like nothingness. And then Cara Delevingne became big, and big bushy eyebrows became the thing. And who's laughing now? I got my eyebrows. But yeah, sorry, I can't help. It's literally just genetics. And they are a nightmare. Like, they grow out of control really quickly. But also I can never bother to go get them threaded. So I deal with it. How are you enjoying having your own house? Do you miss living with your family? I love having my own house. I haven't lived with my family for about 5 years now. Yeah, literally must be like almost 5 years to the day. I moved out of my family home into a flat with my sister. So I lived with my sister for like 3 years, and then I moved out of my flat with my sister in with Holly, and now we've been living together for 2 years. Yeah, we've been living together for 2 years in the flat, and then her parents' house, and now here. I love having my own house. It's always been like my goal to have my own house. Like, ever since I was a teenager, like, I've been saving up to buy a house. I've been saving for years and years and years. And then the day that I finally like had to transfer the money that I'd spent so many years saving, I had like a full-on panic attack. Because it was just like, that's my entire life. That has been my life for like 10 years. And now all the money's gone, and all I have to show for it are these bricks. But I love it. I love not renting. I love being able to do what I want with the house. I love interior design. I love having like DIY projects to do. I love to get stuck in, get my hands dirty. And it's just like a never-ending project, which I really enjoy. I'm one of these people, I always have to have a project on the go. And having a house that needs so much like doing to it, I love it. I love it so much. To the point where next time we like buy a house, like when in years obviously, I'd like to get a real like do-up job, because I think I would really enjoy that. But I don't think Holly would enjoy that as much as I would do. I come from like a builder family. My dad is a builder, my granddad was a builder, his dad was a builder, so like very much a builder family. Growing up, my family would always get like absolutely shithole houses and then build them into something beautiful and incredible. And I spent a lot of years as a kid living in literal building sites, but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. We had some beautiful houses in the end, and I would like to do that again. But yeah, I just love having my own house. I love having my own freedom. I love being able to come and go and do whatever I want. Like, I love being an adult. I love it. I really, really do. Like, I talk to so many people and they're like, oh my god, what I wouldn't do to like go back and be like a teenager again and just like not have to worry about anything. And I'm like, how? How is that something you want to do? Like, being an adult is so cool. Like, still, every time I have to like do an adult thing, like pay my council tax, I'm like, I'm an adult. Like, me paying my council, like, it's stupid, but I really enjoy it. I think because I had so many anxiety issues as a kid, I never actually envisioned is the right word, isn't it? I never envisioned myself getting to like this point in life, and it's really cool. I don't feel like that was your question, but I love having my own house. Who would my 5 dinner party guests be, dead or alive? Ooh, so many. There's so many people to choose from. The first one that springs to mind is Leah Williamson, the Lionesses captain, because I have a massive crush on Leah Williamson, purely for that reason. Any chance to meet her. I would love to meet Elvis. I'm a big Elvis fan. Suddenly I can't think of a single person who has ever lived, ever. Angelina Jolie. 100% Angelina Jolie. Helena Bonham Carter. Who's my 5th person? I feel like I need to choose somebody like fun from history. Anne Lister. Why not? Speaking about Anne Lister earlier, let's go for Anne Lister. I'm sure every time somebody asks me that question, it's a different group of people. Oh, Harry Styles. Where would Harry Styles? But then I'd have to like choose between Leah Williamson, Harry Styles. But also, I bet he'd be really interesting to have a conversation with. Who should I get rid of though? I don't know. Let's have 6. I'll say Harry Styles as well. And they are all the questions that you guys asked. I hope that was interesting. I always feel very self-indulgent doing videos like that. When I ask what kind of videos people want to see, it's always like more personal things like this. So I really hope you enjoyed. I think that's going to be a really long video because I wanted to answer every question you guys gave me, but you know what? It's fine. If you have any other questions that you want answered, then just put them in the comments and I'll have a chat with you guys in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If there's any other book videos that you want to see from me, because this is a book channel first and foremost, then please leave your requests in the comments as well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.